Women who will be on the floor here for heat number 5, and Sydney Wells in lane 5 right now, occupying that final qualifying spot in 11th place overall.
282 points, or 280 points for Sydney Wells. Got about 3 complexes done in test 2, and that's the one thing I'm nervous for her with these seated legless rope climbs, with her inability to do that complex on Friday. How are these legless rope climbs going to shake out for her today?
Carolyn Prevost in lane number 7. She's in 14th place.
It's only about
she
26.
has 254 points. Yeah, she's 26 points out.
26 points out. That's not a lot. That's about the difference between 10 places on the leaderboard as it stands right now. And for her is that she's just a grinder. She's super athletic, like I said, one of the best athletes in the sport, period. And Caroline Prevost should be shaking up to have a good day.
And then Ashley Wozni, she sits in 12th place overall. She's just 6 points back of Sydney Wells for that final qualifying spot.
Wozni going individual. She's been going team for the last couple of years. This is another interesting test for Wozni.
Stand by.
10:46. That is the time to beat. Belongs to Samantha Pugh, who did that in heat number 3. We start with those 20 overhead squats at 125 pounds. There's Carolyn Prevost.
And an interesting thing we found out this morning is that you see 2 barbells on the floor, and they'll do 10 at one and then 10 in the other. You know, it's one of those questions coming in is like, what are some of the details in some of these tests that get revealed in these athlete briefings? And I think it does help some athletes of not having to be forced to maybe do these sets unbroken. So that forced break with 10 changes this test just a little bit.
Annika Greer at the bottom of your screen, and Carolyn Prevost in the white headband, your first 2 athletes to the rower. Now here comes Ashley Wozni. And now Sydney Wells will be 4th to the rower. Shelby Neal is there, and now everyone is done with her first 20 overhead squats, and now that initial 500-meter row.
Greer currently sitting in 19th place with 229 points. She's actually tied with 229. Second best finish this weekend actually came in test number 2 with that ring complex. If she can get a top 10 finish here, that'd be very good for her chances of creeping back up towards a qualifying position.
Top 3 women on the screen right now. Annika Greer on the left, Ashley Wozni and Carolyn Prevost on the right, the first 3 to get to this portion. And after this, it's the handstand pirouettes, the seated legless rope climbs, and the wall-facing handstand push-ups that has been, watch where you're stepping.
Man, and we saw no better example than we saw with Ashley Drew in the previous heat, was decimating everyone, from pirouettes to the first 2 legless rope climbs to the wall-facing handstand push-ups, 1 legless rope climb, but that last and second one got a no rep, and then from there things started to unravel. And that can happen anywhere. It depends on your strength and your skill set. You may be a great puller and a bad presser. You may be a great presser, but not good on your hands inverted and doing a pirouette. There's so many little things in here that I think is a great part of this test.
Well, Brooke Wells, who just went in the prior heat on the left side, out here to cheer on her twin sister. The hand's starting to go in the air meanwhile. Annika Greer looking to be the first woman to finish up this 500-meter row. And she is done. It gets right to work. Carolyn Prevost is finished up. Jordan Chefs also is done, and now we're starting to get just about every woman to the handstand walk portion of this test. The Prevost is through, along with Annika Greer. Shelby Neal is done there in the purple pants. The 2 seated legless rope climbs here. Greer gets her hands at or above that mark and below there, and that's a good rep.
Okay, watch what Annika does. She stands tall. It's very interesting because Carolyn Prevost starts at the bent arm position. Not a lot of tension in the shoulders. Great upper body puller. Watch Annika Greer on the left. what she did last time. She stands tall, she extends fully, and then gets that bottom position. And what that does is it actually puts her in a stretched position, almost like stretching a rubber band out. And for her, that actually is going to help her first pull. That you get that little elastic tension instead of having to start almost from a dead stop. You get this sneaky little help in that outstretched arm position.
Annika Greer so far has been the fastest through the overhead squats and the row, and she got through those seated row climbs, no problem. Here are your standings again heading in is Sydney Wells. Right now would be the last woman in. Ashley Wozni and Carolyn Prevost are both in this heat trying to chase her down. Greer has got a good pace going on these wall-facing handstand push-ups. And remember, last year, Annika Greer looking to qualify for the CrossFit Games and just missed a submission window for a score. And that's what kept her out, ended her season.
And the reason why that's a big deal is because all year leading up to that and her performances in online competition and off-season competitions is that she was almost not a shoe-in, but a favorite to qualify for the CrossFit Games last season. So it's not just missing a submission window and, oh, that sucks for you, but it was missing a submission window on someone that we thought could actually make the CrossFit Games.
Well, she is done with her handstand push-ups. Now Annika Greer on her final 2 rope climbs. Meanwhile, Sydney Wells is working on her 20 wall-facing handstand push-ups. And Greer gets right back to work. This is her first of 2 final climbs, and
she is crushing.
She's going to make
this.
it, no problem.
Now that's just the first one.
Oh, they're going to give her a no rep.
No.
She got no rep. I think her feet touched before she was below. It looked, that was close. We'll have to see that again, but it looked like her feet touched before she got below.
Now once that hands go below, we were told pretty much anything goes. So once you've established below the line.
So let's see if we can see it here on the right side. This is the no rep. Now,
watch the red tape. Watch the red tape. Hand below. Hand below. That should be fine.
Well, we were told that should count.
That should count.
And the crowd just saw it on the screen as well, and they're reacting to it. And it looks like the head judge, they did that.
All right, slow clap.
The head judges came over and corrected that. So that is.
Hey, let me just
take a moment. That's where the system works.
Let me just take a moment and everybody thank the judges for making the right call. They have a hard job, usually very thankless, and if you're watching on social media, usually vilified to the nth degree. Thank you for making the good call on the spot. Bravo, judges.
Annika Greer is through along with Shelby Neal. And Neal's starting to put some pressure on Annika Greer here. Neal's going to try to go unbroken. And they are dead even going to the rower.
Now the row here is a pace setter for the 20 overhead squats we have coming in. At the same time, it's not really how fast you can row, but almost how much you can sustain without putting yourself into a hole, because listen, 20 overhead squats at 125 pounds for these ladies after everything they have done to this point. And we talk about execution, efficiency, good positions. The pirouettes are taxing the shoulders. The legless row climbs are taxing the lats and the arms and the forearms. Then we have the wall-facing handstand pushes. All of that combined together is going to influence how the overhead squat position is over there in that shoulder position. So efficiency, execution, huge elements to this test other than just the high skill gymnastics.
Saw Annika Greer peeking over at Shelby Neal's monitor. She's doing it again there. Right now, or getting to the rower, both Neal and Greer were about 40 seconds back of Samantha Pugh's pace that she used to set the top time of 10:46. Sydney Wells is still trying to close out her final 2 climbs. That's her second one, and now she will get to the handstand portion. First pirouette is done. Wells makes it to that final line. Annika Greer's judge, meanwhile, on the right side of your screen, just put her hand in the air, and Shelby Neal's judge's hand went in the air as well. They're inside 100 meters.
Look, as great as this is for Annika Greer, this is really good for Sydney Wells. It's very curious how she's going to handle those middle skill gymnastics on the legless climbs, but Sydney Wells at just about the 10-minute mark, this is great for her so far.
Annika Greer on the left side in the blue top. She is on to the overhead squats. Shelby Neal is to the barbell as well. Jordan Chefs and Sydney Wells are on the rower.
Ladies and gentlemen, she's at 10 more to go.
10 final reps for Annika Greer.
Grabs the barbell, goes right into it. With 5 more reps standing between Annika Greer and a finish.
The final rep for Greer,
See for that last rep.
and she is in, and Annika Greer will have the second best time that we have seen, 10:52.18 seconds.
That's going to put a lot of pressure on the next heat.
And now Shelby Neal will be next across.
51 points out of a qualifying spot.
Neal's got 3 left.
She's gonna need some help on those last ones. Let's make some noise for Shelby Neal.
She's gonna get through it, and Shelby Neal is in.
I tell you what, I don't think there was an 11th overhead squat in that body. She absolutely tapped everything to get those last 10 squats.
Well, Sydney Wells is now your leader on the floor, as Shelby Neal's time of 11:29.95 seconds, right now the 3rd best time we've seen in this test.
Okay, Sydney Wells. It's a tough spot to sit in, that basically that gatekeeper position. You see athletes like this all the time. They enjoy the chase, they enjoy the climb, they love trying to catch somebody. The hardest position to be in is trying to fend off those that are trying to do that, and that's the position Sydney Wells is.
Sydney Wells and Jordan Chefs are onto the barbell.
The second last event happening right here, right now in Orlando, Florida. Sydney Wells fighting for a spot to Madison, Wisconsin.
Meanwhile, Ashley Wozni on the right side of your screen is behind Sydney Wells in this test, which is good news for Sydney Wells, because Wozni is the woman right behind Wells in the overall standings, just 6 points back of that 11th and final qualifying spot coming into this test. Sydney Wells is done. 13:05.25 seconds right now puts her in 6th place in the test, and now Jordan Chefs is in.
And Chefs is 16th place overall, 37 points out. Now that's not going to catch Sydney, however, that's going to move her up closer to her. Close that, well, not close the gap on her, but close the gap from her distance and placing.
Here are your standings again, coming into test 6. Ashley Wozni and Kara Napoli, who Napoli has yet to go. She'll be in one of the next heats. And now Carolyn Prevost looking to finish up. It's another woman looking to work her way inside the top 11.
When I'm talking about Chefs is working her way closer to a qualifying spot, is that Prevost was one of those athletes. She's going to squeeze the gap or close that gap on, including Ashley Wozni. Keep in mind, we still got another heat to go.
Yeah.
And with a test like this, we've talked about it to this point multiple times, but for good reason, is that you know, you'll see it's like, okay, the top 10 athletes, 10 heats, they'll be good to go. With elements like this in this high skill, not necessarily the case. And you can have all the capacity in the world and make a mistake. We've already seen that happen multiple times. Go for a rope climb too early.
Prevost is in. Shelby Neal and Annika Greer have found the nearest ice chest, and they're trying to flush out those forearms. There's Ashley Wozni, who is your leader on the floor right now, with less than a minute to go. 5 women so far in this heat have finished. Prevost was the last one.
With 30 seconds.
The final rep for Wozni. She is done. So Wozni in at 15:38.68 seconds. That's the 17th best time we've seen in the test. Caitlin Saunders is across as well, but Annika Greer did not set the top time in the test, but wins her heat, 10:52.18 seconds. We're talking things over with Adrian Bosman, and they took the time to get it right.
Yeah.
But that rep did count, and I think you summarized it perfectly. It's a tough job, and that's why we have multiple eyes on things.
Not just multiple eyes, is that, we have the judges on the floor, and then we have 2 head judges that are making sure the right calls are being made at the right time. And Greer, that first round and that little stretch technique played well for her. Now the rep that didn't count initially there, hands below, you can go, and then this reaction. And here's what's important for Greer. On the outside looking in, you need every number of points that you can get. She gets second place so far in this test by 6 seconds. Those 6 seconds she had lost in trying to at least get the rep back. Now, fortunately for her, she did get that rep back and was able to